I would like to move on to our second speaker, ElsaMarie DSilva from the Red Dot Foundation. Elsa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rashima. So, you know, the Secretary General this morning said that sexual violence or violence against women and girls is an age-old scourge. And he called on all world leaders to actually step up on the investment front. I want to reiterate that. At Red Dot Foundation, we focus on ending violence against women and girls and putting gender on the agenda, because violence doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in a society that allows it to happen. And we can call it by any name, but in reality, 1 in 3 women around the world experience it at least once in their lifetime, 1 in 4 girls, and even 1 in 7 boys experience it. So we are talking about violence on an everyday basis. And at Red Dot Foundation, we have a platform called Safe City, where we encourage anonymous reporting of this kind of violence. Why do we do that? Because there is a silence around it. 80% or more of the people experience this violence do not report to any official authority, and therefore there is a data gap that exists. But when we visibilize this information, whether it's through crowdsourced platforms or making disaggregated data available to communities, then we actually empower communities and individuals to reclaim their agency. We spoke earlier in the first panel, or I think the Assistant Secretary General mentioned the need for disaggregated data. And to reduce the power differentials, it's important that everyone has access to this data, where they can sit across from institutions and speak in the same language, demand accountability, and demand for their human rights. I'll give you a couple of examples where around the world, different organizations who are partners with us have used it to engage religious leaders to talk to men and boys, because they understand the kind of violence the little girls are experiencing on their way to school. Or they are able to engage with the police to change beat patrol timings, or engage with city officials to have stronger implementation of laws, or even deploy more resources. But you cannot do that if you don't understand the problem. We spoke about leaving no one behind. But when you don't have data, when you do not actually address the problem, which is the elephant in the room, a lot of women and girls are being left behind because they don't have equal access to opportunities. They self-censor. They are not allowed to travel very far from their home. Many of them are actually assaulted in their home or close to their home as well. So when we talk of a level playing field, do they actually have a level playing field? And this then gets translated into other forms of violence where they are discriminated on a pay gap. The World Economic Forum says it's going to take 131 years to equalize that gap. We don't have that kind of time. So again, when we are talking about SDGs and realization of the SDGs, empowering women and girls, making sure they live in safe and inclusive cultures is absolutely critical to the realization of all 17 SDGs. I want to talk about digital rights. We live in a world where technology is part and parcel of our daily lives. But there is also a digital gender divide. And we, being a tech platform, we know for sure that women and girls do not necessarily have access to digital devices. They don't have digital literacy or access. And therefore, we must put that front and center if we are talking about human rights. Digital rights should also be part of human rights. I also want to talk about coalitions and partnerships. We cannot do it alone. All of these issues are too big for one of us or one organization to solve. So coalitions are absolutely critical, and at Red Dot Foundation, we are part of several important ones, including the Brave Movement to End Childhood Sexual Abuse. We are together with many civil society partners asking platforms to put stronger legislation and protocols in place so that young children are protected when they access the internet. We need governments to follow suit as well and hold all people accountable and organizations accountable. And at the UN, for example, we are part of several coalitions like the NGO Major Group. And in the spirit of SDG 17, which is partnership, I'd like to encourage member states to open up the space for civil society. Make sure that we have a seat at every table, and especially on expert committees, because we have a bottom-up approach. We know what's happening on the ground, and you need that information to make policies and laws that are strong, that are effective and resilient. And at the end of the day, if you can't give us a seat, let's start with an observer status. That's absolutely critical. We need to be in these rooms where decisions are being made on behalf of so many people around the world. So on that note, I'd like to say, let's work together, because we have no option but to accelerate gender equality especially. Let's end violence against women and girls and make this planet safe for all. Thank you.